If you are looking at the news coming out of London right now, you need to sit down. The world you woke up in this morning is gone. The map of global power has just been ripped in half, and the United States of America is standing on the wrong side of the fault line. For nearly a century, American presidents have relied on one absolute, unbreakable truth. They believed that no matter what happened in the world, no matter how bad things got, no matter how isolated they became, they had the special relationship. They had the United Kingdom. London was the anchor of American influence in Europe. London was the unquestioning deputy. London was the loyal friend that would never walk away. Donald Trump bet his entire foreign policy on that assumption. He thought he could threaten the world with tariffs, dismantle global treaties, insult his allies on social media, and still have the British Prime Minister waiting for him on line 1. But today, the phone rang in the Oval Office, and it wasn't to offer allegiance. It was to say goodbye. In a joint press conference at 10 Downing Street that has left Washington absolutely paralyzed, the UK government didn't just announce a trade deal. They announced a geopolitical earthquake. The United Kingdom has officially signed the London-Ottawa Accords, joining a radically reimagined, highly militarized, and economically exclusive trade bloc spearheaded by none other than Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney. They are calling it the Commonwealth Common Market, but the Pentagon is already calling it something else. They are calling it a fortress. And the most terrifying part for Donald Trump? The doors to that fortress are locked from the inside, and America does not have the key. In this report, I am going to show you exactly how Mark Carney orchestrated the greatest diplomatic coup of the 21st century. I'm going to show you how a man who used to run the Bank of England used his deep personal ties to London to steal America's oldest ally right out from under Donald Trump's nose. I am going to break down the exact financial and technological mechanisms that are about to make the US dollar bleed. And most importantly, I'm going to tell you exactly how much this catastrophic failure of American leadership is going to cost you personally. Because make no mistake, you are watching history shift in real time. To understand the magnitude of what just happened, you have to look at what Trump pushed the UK to do and why they finally snapped. For months, the Trump administration has been operating under the delusion that America first means everyone else obeys. He slapped punitive tariffs on European goods, and when the UK asked for an exemption, expecting the loyalty of an old friend, he demanded total capitulation. He didn't just want a deal, he wanted submission. He wanted the UK to lower its food standards to accept American exports. He wanted them to open their National Health Service to American pharmaceutical corporations. And most critically, he demanded they publicly endorse his trade war against Canada. He treated the United Kingdom not like a sovereign nation with 1,000 years of history, but like a desperate subsidiary of the Trump Organization. He backed them into a corner. He told them, "You have nowhere else to go. You left the European Union. You need us." It was a gamble based on fear. If you see that this strategy of bullying allies is a sign of weakness rather than strength, please leave for us a comment. But Trump forgot who is sitting in the Prime Minister's office in Ottawa. Mark Carney is not a traditional politician. He doesn't throw tantrums on social media. He doesn't govern by ego. He governs by mathematics, systems, and deep institutional relationships. Before he was the leader of Canada, he was the governor of the Bank of England. He knows the British financial system better than anyone alive. He knows the lords. He knows the bankers. He knows the king. He spent years in London steering their economy through the chaos of Brexit. He is trusted there. He is respected there in a way Donald Trump will never be anywhere. When Trump issued his ultimatum to London, Carney didn't issue a press release. He picked up the phone. He offered the UK a lifeline. But it wasn't just a bilateral trade deal. It was a vision. Carney looked at the remnants of the old British Empire, the Commonwealth of Nations, and he realized it was a sleeping giant. 56 countries, over 2.7 billion people, a combined gross domestic product projected to hit $20 trillion by the end of the decade. For decades, the Commonwealth was just a symbolic club, a relic of the past where leaders drank tea and took group photos. Carney weaponized it. He drafted a blueprint for a fully integrated high-standard economic and security bloc. We are talking about zero tariffs on advanced technology, shared critical mineral supply chains, synchronized financial regulations between the City of London and Bay Street in Toronto, and most importantly, a mutual defense and intelligence sharing architecture that bypasses Washington entirely. If you agree with the idea that nations should prioritize their own survival over loyalty to a volatile superpower, comment agree. Carney built a 21st century superpower out of the ashes of the old world, and today, the UK officially stepped inside. Let's look at the receipts, because the numbers breaking right now are going to send shockwaves through Wall Street. First, look at the supply chains. The United States relies heavily on imported critical minerals to build everything from smartphones to fighter jets. Lithium, cobalt, rare earth elements, these are the oil of the digital age. Without them, the American economy grinds to a halt. Trump has been alienating the very countries that supply them. Under the London-Ottawa Accords, Canada and Australia, two of the world's largest mining superpowers, have agreed to give exclusive preferential export rights to UK and Commonwealth manufacturing hubs. They are building a closed-loop supply chain for the green energy transition and advanced military tech. Do you understand what that means? It means if an American company like Tesla or Apple wants Canadian lithium or Australian rare earths, they are going to the back of the line, and they are paying a massive premium. Trump wanted a trade war. Carney just gave him one, but he cut off America's ammunition before the first shot was fired. If you agree with the strategy of securing resources before starting a conflict, comment agree. This is a masterclass in economic warfare. While Trump was busy threatening tariffs on steel and aluminum, battles from the 20th century, Carney was locking down the resources that will define the 21st. The Commonwealth Common Market isn't just a free trade zone, it's a resource fortress. By the time Washington realizes what has happened, the contracts will be signed, the shipments will be routed to London and Toronto, and American factories will be left scrambling for scraps on the open market. But here is the question that everyone in Washington is asking right now. How did they pull this off without US intelligence stopping it? We will get to the intelligence failure in a moment, but first we have to talk about the military aspect, because this is where the betrayal becomes personal. Second, look at the intelligence and defense sector. This is the part that has the Pentagon in an absolute state of panic today. You have heard of the Five Eyes Intelligence Alliance, the US, the UK, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. It is the most intimate spy network on Earth. For decades, these nations have shared everything: terrorist chatter, satellite imagery, cyber threats. But the new Commonwealth Agreement includes a specific provision for sovereign data integration. In plain English, the UK, Canada, and Australia are merging their cyber defense protocols and artificial intelligence research, creating a secure digital perimeter that the United States is not invited into. They are effectively building a Three Eyes inner circle. Why? Because after watching Donald Trump leak classified information, burn intelligence assets, and treat national security like a reality television plot, London and Ottawa decided that Washington is a security risk. They don't trust the President of the United States with their secrets anymore. Let that sink in. The nations that bled with America on the beaches of Normandy and in the deserts of Afghanistan have decided that the current occupant of the Oval Office is too volatile to be trusted with their radar data. If you see that this loss of trust is the most dangerous consequence of the current administration, please leave for us a comment. And it gets worse. Let's talk about the military bases. For the last 48 hours, Trump has been threatening to pull US airmen and nuclear bombers out of Royal Air Force bases in England if the UK signed this deal. He thought it was his ultimate trump card. He thought the British public would be terrified of losing American protection, but the UK Prime Minister didn't flinch. In fact, we are hearing reports that the British response was chillingly simple. They reportedly told the White House, "If you want to leave, we will help you pack." Because the Canadians and the Australians are already moving in. Canada is deploying its new defense industrial capabilities to fill the void. Australia is sending naval assets to patrol alongside the Royal Navy. They are proving in real time that the American military umbrella is no longer strictly necessary for Western survival. Trump tried to use the US military as a protection racket, and the Commonwealth just called his bluff. Now let's talk about the technology sector, because this is where the real future is being decided. The London-Ottawa Accords include a brand new initiative called Project Northern Light. It is a massive multi-billion-dollar sovereign AI infrastructure project. Carney and the UK leadership recognized that data is the new oil. They looked at Silicon Valley. They looked at the tech giants aligned with the Trump administration, the Elon Musks, the Peter Thiels, and they realized that allowing American corporations to control their data is a fundamental threat to their national sovereignty. So they are banning American tech monopolies from bidding on critical government contracts across the entire Commonwealth bloc. They are building their own artificial intelligence systems, trained on their own data, hosted on servers located exclusively in Canada, the UK, and Australia. Silicon Valley is in a total meltdown this morning. Tech CEOs are furiously calling the White House, begging Trump to dial back the rhetoric. They are watching a market of 2.7 billion people close its doors to American software, but Trump isn't answering their calls. He is too busy watching his financial empire start to crack. But what exactly is Project Northern Light building? Is it just a server farm? No. It is designed to be a civilizational AI, an artificial intelligence system aligned with Commonwealth values, designed to govern logistics, healthcare, and energy grids without a single byte of data passing through an American server. It is the ultimate declaration of independence. If you agree with the idea that countries should control their own digital future and not rely on foreign tech giants, comment agree. This is a nightmare scenario for the US tech sector. For years, American dominance was built on the idea that if you wanted the best tech, you had to buy American. Project Northern Light challenges that directly. It says, we can build it better, we can build it safer, and we can build it without you spying on us. Let's look at the financial strike. The City of London is the financial capital of Europe. Toronto is a banking juggernaut in the Americas. By linking their regulatory frameworks, Carney and the UK Prime Minister are creating a transatlantic financial superhighway that bypasses the New York clearinghouses entirely. They are setting up a system where Commonwealth nations can trade, settle debts, and issue bonds without ever touching the US dollar. Trump loves to weaponize the dollar. He loves to threaten countries with sanctions, cutting them off from the global financial system if they don't do exactly what he wants. Carney just engineered a bypass valve. He just gave half the world a way to do business without asking Donald Trump for permission. You can literally see the reaction in the markets right now. On your screen as this announcement went live, the British pound surged against the dollar. The Canadian dollar spiked to a multi-year high. The Dow Jones Industrial Average opened down 1,200 points, and it is still dropping. Investors are terrified because they know what a world looks like when America is isolated. The mechanism they are using is a distributed ledger system shared between the Bank of England and the Bank of Canada. It allows for instantaneous settlement of trade in local currencies. If a British firm buys Canadian lumber, they pay in pounds, the Canadians receive dollars, and the exchange happens internally within the Commonwealth system. New York never sees the transaction. The US Treasury never gets to sanction it. The SWIFT system is rendered irrelevant for 30% of global trade. If you see that this financial independence creates a more balanced global economy, please leave for us a comment. This is the end of the exorbitant privilege of the US dollar. For decades, America could print money and run massive deficits because the world needed dollars to trade. If that demand evaporates, the value of the dollar collapses. And when the dollar collapses, American inflation becomes uncontrollable. Let's talk about the scene inside the White House right now, because the contrast in leadership styles has never been more glaring, and it is humiliating for the United States. Think back to Davos just earlier this year. Mark Carney delivered his now famous rupture speech. He stood in front of the world's elite and calmly articulated that the old world order was dead, and that middle powers like Canada would no longer submit to the chaotic whims of fading superpowers. He got a standing ovation. Trump responded by rage posting on social media, calling Carney weak and threatening 100% tariffs. But who looks weak today? Mark Carney executed this maneuver with zero leaks, zero drama, and zero public threats. It was surgical. It was the work of a statesman who plays a 50-year game. He flew to London quietly. He worked the back channels. He built consensus. He treated his partners with respect. He treated them like equals. Meanwhile, Donald Trump is currently trapped in a cycle of rage. Sources are saying the West Wing is a war zone today. He is screaming at his trade representatives. He is demanding that someone punish the UK. He is drafting posts calling the British government traitors and threatening to seize British assets in the United States. But he has no leverage. That is the brutal reality that is crashing down on him right now. He spent years burning bridges, thinking he could always walk on water. Now he is stranded on an island, screaming at the boats that are sailing away. He can't sanction the UK without destroying the US banking sector. He can't tariff Canada without causing hyperinflation in the American Midwest. He pushed and pushed and pushed, believing that the world would eventually break to his will. Instead, the world just walked around him. If you agree with the sentiment that respect earns more loyalty than fear, comment agree. The diplomatic community is watching this with their jaws on the floor. It is a lesson in statecraft. While Trump was playing to the cameras, Carney was playing the board. While Trump was obsessed with the news cycle, Carney was obsessed with history. And today, history rewarded the quiet planner over the loud bully. What does this mean for you? Why should you care if the UK and Canada are building a new alliance? Why should you care about the Commonwealth? You should care because the era of cheap American dominance is officially over, and you are going to pay the bill for Trump's arrogance. When the US is locked out of the world's largest and fastest-growing free trade bloc, American exports become uncompetitive. Factories in Ohio, Michigan, and Pennsylvania that rely on exporting parts to the UK or importing raw materials from Canada are going to see their profit margins evaporate overnight. That means layoffs. That means hiring freezes. That means entire shifts being cancelled at manufacturing plants because the math no longer works. When the Commonwealth starts settling trade in their own currencies, the global demand for the US dollar drops. When the dollar drops, the cost of everything you buy goes up. Inflation isn't just a domestic issue, it is a geopolitical penalty, and Mark Carney just handed Donald Trump a massive penalty for bad behavior. You are going to see the cost of electronics skyrocket. You are going to see the price of cars jump, because the supply chains for modern vehicles are deeply integrated with Canadian manufacturing. You are going to see energy prices fluctuate wildly because the stabilizing force of the North American energy grid is now fractured. Canada will prioritize its new common market partners over US buyers. Why would Ottawa send cheap hydropower to New York when Trump is threatening them with tariffs, while London is offering them open markets and defense tech? If you see that these economic consequences are too high a price to pay for political posturing, please leave for us a comment. Trump didn't just lose a trade deal today, he lost the narrative of the 21st century. For years, the story was that America was the indispensable nation, that no matter how chaotic Washington got, the world fundamentally needed the US military and the US consumer to survive. We were the sun, and everyone else was just a planet orbiting around us. Mark Carney just proved that is a lie. He proved that middle powers, when united, can stand up to a superpower and win. He proved that competence, stability, and mutual respect are actually more powerful than loud threats and midnight tantrums. Imagine being a foreign diplomat watching this unfold today. You are looking at Donald Trump, a man who tears up treaties, insults his friends, and changes his foreign policy based on whoever flattered him last on television. And then you look at Mark Carney, a calm, brilliant technocrat who just successfully united 56 nations into a global fortress without firing a single shot. Who are you going to trust with your economy? Who are you going to trust with your national security? The UK made its choice, and they won't be the last. Australia is watching this. India is watching this. The nations of the Pacific and Africa are watching this. The dominoes are starting to fall. This is how empires end, not with a massive invasion, not with a catastrophic war, but with a quiet press conference in a rainy city where your oldest friend looks into a camera and says, "We don't need you anymore." The United States has been outplayed, outmaneuvered, and outclassed. Donald Trump demanded absolute obedience from the world, and Mark Carney just handed him absolute isolation. If you agree with the idea that the world is moving on from American hegemony, comment agree. The Commonwealth is awake, the fortress is built, and the drawbridge has just been pulled up. I want you to think about what happens tomorrow when Trump inevitably lashes out, when he tries to punish Canada or the UK for daring to secure their own future. Every time he swings, he is only going to hit himself. Every tariff he imposes will just accelerate the integration of the Commonwealth bloc. Every threat he makes will just prove to the world that Carney was right to build the wall in the first place. Donald Trump is trapped in a cage of his own making, and the whole world is watching him unravel. But here is the final question. Is this reversible? If a new administration comes in, can they fix this? Or has the trust been broken permanently? The London-Ottawa Accords are designed to be durable. They are treaties, ratified by parliaments, woven into law. They are not executive orders that can be signed away with a pen. The structures being built today, the supply chains, the data centers, the financial pipes, will take decades to unwind. America might eventually be invited back to the table, but it will never sit at the head of it again. If you want to understand where this goes next, if you want to know what happens when the US dollar takes the hit and the supply chains start to crack, you need to stay engaged. The mainstream media is going to spin this. They are going to tell you it's a minor trade dispute. They are going to parrot the White House talking points and tell you that America is stronger than ever. But you know the truth. You just saw history turn the page. Don't let the algorithm silence the truth. And this subscribe and hit the bell to catch the next breaking update. Smash the like button if you want more deep dives. Comment below. What should we investigate next? A specific legal case or a new political scandal? Your feedback drives this channel. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next breaking update.